Let me describe the man you love. He's clever in a way that surprises people. There's a softness under the guardedness. You've seen it, properly, more than once. He notices things nobody else notices. He's been through something difficult, and it left marks. And when he lets you near those marks, it's the most intimate thing you've ever experienced. He's not good at showing it, but the feeling underneath is enormous. You know it is. You felt it. He'd be extraordinary if he just got out of his own way. That's the man. That's who you'd describe to a stranger if they asked what he's like, and every word of it would be sincere. Now answer a different question. What did he actually do this week? Not what he meant. Not what he's capable of. Not the version of the week you'd have had if things weren't so busy at work right now. What did he do, Monday to Sunday, actions only, the way a camera would have recorded it? If those two answers don't match, you're not in a relationship with a difficult man. You're in a relationship with a draft. And I don't say that to be cruel, because I think what you're doing is the most understandable thing in the world, and I think it's costing you years. So let's take it apart. How the draft got written, what keeps it funded, and why letting go of it hurts so much more than it seems like it should. Start with a simple observation about how you talk about him. There's a man you describe, and there's a man you live with, and they're built from different materials. The described man is a composite. He's made of the best 20 minutes of the last 8 months, plus everything he's told you he wants to become, plus your reading of his silences, which is always generous, always sophisticated, always assumes depth rather than absence. You've done real interpretive work on this man. Some of the finest thinking of your life has gone into explaining him. The man you live with is the one who left you on red on Thursday and said nothing about it on Friday. You know both of them, but only one of them has your loyalty. Robert Firestone gave this a name that I think is the most useful phrase in the whole conversation: the fantasy bond. His idea was that a connection can become a kind of substitute, that instead of relating to an actual, present, disappointing, ordinary person, we relate to an internal image of a bond, and the image does the emotional work the relationship stopped doing. And the fantasy bond has advantages the real one can't compete with. It doesn't cancel, it never goes cold, it doesn't leave you waiting. It's endlessly available, entirely reliable, and always facing you. There's a very specific tell for when this has happened, and it's this: you stop assessing the relationship and start defending it. Notice which one you're doing. When a friend says something careful, does he ever ask about your work? What happens in you? Do you consider it? Or does something come up immediately, protective and fast, and you find yourself explaining his childhood again? Assessment is open. Defense is closed. And when you're defending, you're not protecting him. He doesn't need it. He's fine. He's not even in the room. You're protecting the image, because the image is what you've been living inside. So what keeps the image alive? Because a fantasy needs fuel, and yours has a very specific source. There was a weekend, or a night, or one drive somewhere, or the fortnight after the last big row. He was there, fully. He asked you things and listened to the answers. He touched your back in the kitchen for no reason. He talked about his mother in a way he never does. You remember the light in the room. You remember what you were wearing. And you've been living off it ever since. Because that weekend didn't get filed as a lovely time. It got filed as evidence. Proof that the real him, the one you fell for, exists and is retrievable. Which means everything that's happened since isn't who he is. It's an interference pattern. Stress, work, his head not being in a good place, temporary. Here's what's actually happened there. You've taken the rarest 3% of his behavior and designated it the truth, and the other 97%, the consistent, repeated, daily behavior, and designated it the exception. That's backwards. And it's not stupidity. It's how hope works. Intermittent evidence is the most persuasive kind because you can never fully rule it out. If he'd been cold every single day since you met, you'd have left in March. It's the good weekend that keeps you. Ask yourself how long ago it was. Genuinely. Put a date on it. Most women I've talked to about this go quiet at that point because the date is a lot further back than the feeling suggests. And running alongside the memories, there's the other currency, the future. When work calms down, next year, when things are more settled. I want that too. I'm just not in the right place yet. One day I'll take you there. These are lovely sentences. They cost nothing to produce, and they buy an enormous amount of time. That's what makes future talk so effective. It functions like payment. You receive it as commitment. You feel the warmth of being included in a plan, and something in you settles. But nothing has been transferred. No date, no change in behavior, no visible difference on Monday morning. You've been paid in a currency you can't spend anywhere. And I want to be fair here. Most men saying these things aren't running a con. He probably means it while he's saying it. Intention is genuinely present. It's just that intention is not a plan. And a man who intends to be different for 3 consecutive years is not becoming different. He's found a comfortable way to stay the same while being appreciated for who he might become, which raises the harder question, not why he says it, why you accept it again and again when you'd never accept it from a colleague or a landlord. And here's where it gets uncomfortable, because there's something in this arrangement for you. Being the only one who sees the good in him is a position. And it's a position that comes with a kind of status. Everyone else has misread him. His exes gave up. His friends don't really know him. His family made him this way. But you see through it. You have the patience, the depth, the insight. You're the one who stayed. That's not nothing. For a lot of us, that role is where our sense of worth actually lives. Being needed, being the exception, being the one person who understood. If you grew up earning your place through usefulness, then a man who requires enormous understanding isn't a burden. He's a job you know how to do brilliantly and a place where you're irreplaceable, which creates a problem nobody says out loud. If he got well on his own, you'd be redundant. If he became straightforwardly, boringly available, no wounds to interpret, no depths to excavate, what exactly would your role be? I'm not suggesting you want him broken, but it's worth noticing that your identity might be built into the shape of his unavailability, and that a part of you may not be entirely neutral about him changing. Because you've done this before, haven't you? Somewhere back there was an adult who was almost available. Not absent. That would have been simpler. Almost. Sometimes warm, sometimes gone. Present at dinner and completely elsewhere. Someone you could get to occasionally, if the conditions were right, if you were good enough, if you caught them on the right evening. You spent your childhood on that, studying the conditions, getting close, almost, and the task never resolved. Nobody ever came and said, right, that's finished now. So it stayed open, and open tasks are magnetic. Give that child an adult version of the same puzzle, a man who is nearly there, who lets you in briefly and then closes, who you can almost reach, and it doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like unfinished business, finally back on the table. Loving potential is that childhood assignment, resubmitted. And this time you think, if you're patient enough, you'll get the ending. Now, the thing underneath all of this, which took me an embarrassingly long time to see. The fantasy isn't really about him. Potential is a story that saves you from having to reach a verdict. Because as long as there's a possible future version of this man, you don't have to conclude anything about the present one. You don't have to decide. You don't have to leave or have the conversation or face what the last 4 years bought you. You get to stay in an indefinite maybe, and maybe is a lot more comfortable than a decision. That's what the hope is for. It's not optimism. It's an emergency exit from a conclusion you're not ready to draw. And it works. It genuinely relieves the pressure, which is exactly why you keep reaching for it and why the people around you can't argue you out of it. They're presenting evidence about a man. You're protecting yourself from a verdict. There's a way to test this, and it takes about 4 seconds. Ask yourself, if he is exactly as he is right now, in 2 years, no growth, no change, this precise man, Is this a life I want? Notice what happens in your body when you ask it. If something in you flinches and immediately starts negotiating, but he could, but if we, but he's said, that flinch is your answer, and it arrived before your reasoning did. And then there's the leaving, which I want to talk about honestly, because it confuses people and it's confused me. If you do go, it will hurt far more than it seems entitled to, and everyone around you will be quietly baffled, because on paper, you're leaving a man who barely showed up. Where's all this grief coming from? Here's where. You're not mourning him. You're mourning the man you built, the house you'd planned, the version of your life where he became who you knew he could be, and it was worth it, and you were right about him all along. That's an ambiguous loss, grief for something that never existed in the world, only in you. And it's brutal precisely because it isn't shareable. Nobody sends flowers. There's no event to point at. You're burying a future you constructed alone, and you're the only one at the funeral. So let me say the thing I'd once said to me. You're allowed to grieve it. That future was real work. You spent years on it, and you loved something, even if what you loved lived mostly in your own head. It deserves an actual mourning rather than being talked out of you by well-meaning friends. And I should be honest about what comes next, because the fantasy doesn't just vanish when the man does. The projector is yours. It travels. You can leave him and meet someone new in 8 months and find yourself doing the same thing by the 3rd date, building a version, filling the gaps generously, falling for a draft again. That's why leaving alone doesn't fix it. What has to change is the measurement. So here's the ruler. Judge him on what is available now. Not what's promised, not what's implied, not what you can see in him that others miss. What has actually happened in the last 30 days that you could describe to someone without needing to add context. Words are data, but they're the weakest kind. Behavior repeated over time is the only real evidence there is. A man who says he's not good at communication and then doesn't communicate has told you the truth twice, once in words, once in action. And only one of those is binding. And I'll warn you about the strangest part of this, because it catches people off guard. When you finally sit across from a man who is already who he is, no gaps to fill, no depths to excavate, no project, it can feel oddly flat at first. There's nothing for your imagination to do. Your imagination has been the most active participant in your love life for years, and suddenly it's got no work. That flatness isn't the absence of love, it's the absence of fiction. And it's a strange, quiet, slightly disappointing feeling that turns out to be what solid ground feels like when you're used to building things in the air. You've spent a long time being extraordinarily loyal to somebody. Faithful, patient, generous, forgiving, genuinely, all of it. It just wasn't to him, and it certainly wasn't to you. Try looking, this week, at the man who's actually in the room, not with hostility, just accurately. Then ask whether you'd have chosen him at all if you'd never written the other one.